All right, welcome to another Then and Now Bible study. I'm Pastor Trey, and so I'm back in school now, and so I don't have a ton of time to dump into these, so there will be no editing. Whatever happens is what happens. Just straight up one take going through this. Anyhow, man, thank y'all so much for the love and support. Thank y'all so much, for the I had several people coming to me and saying, "Hey, we really appreciate it. Love the Bible studies." Man, that makes my heart happy. I'm glad y'all are getting stuff out of it, and glad that it is benefiting you. Glad that it is helping you to grow. Again, if you love it, man, I encourage you to share it with people. Let people know, because I try to get straight to the point. I try to dive in a little deeper without being super complicated. And if that's resonating with you, hopefully it'll resonate with other people that are in your circle and people that you're friends with, and so share it with them. Would love to bless them in that same way. Well, let's jump into it. We are still going through the book of Mark, and I'm going to change my screens real quick so we can get to where we're at and what's going on. uh uh, Again, Mark now changes scenes and starts just kind of talking about the fame of Jesus and how Jesus's fame is growing during this time. So, verse 7, let's see here. All right, verse 7, Jesus Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake, and a large crowd from Galilee followed. When they heard about all he was doing, many people came to him from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and the regions across the Jordan and around Tyre and Sidon. Because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding him, for he had healed many, so that those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. Whenever impure spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." But he gave them strict orders not to tell others about him. So let's jump in and let's start dissecting this a little bit. It says that Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake. So he withdrew with the ones that are the closest to him, his closest followers, and they withdraw to the Sea of Galilee, the area right there around the Lake of Galilee, the Sea of Galilee. And it says that a large crowd from Galilee, from the region of Galilee, began following him out here. And it says when they heard about all that he was doing, many people came from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, the regions across the Jordan, around Tyre and Sidon. And so let's jump over and let's look at a map real quick, and let's look at exactly where they are talking about. And so here we have the Sea of Galilee. All right, and so right around this area is originally where the crowds are coming from. They're coming from, this is all considered Galilee. All right, and so the people from these cities here begin following him as Jesus is ministering somewhere right here on the banks of the Sea of Galilee. Now it starts bringing up that he starts getting followers from the Jordan River. So people start coming from the Jordan River area, which is right in here, to follow him. It says that people are coming from Judea and Jerusalem, which is all in here, and even at Idumea, which is all the way down here. This is a really long way from Galilee, and this is how far south people are coming. People are coming from this far south to Jesus. So then it also talks about Tyre and Sidon. This is up in Phoenicia. This is not even, all of this is actually the historic homeland of Israel. But Tyre and Sidon, this is the Phoenicians. These aren't even Israelites. And so these are foreigners who are hearing about Jesus and coming down here of this guy who is preaching basically on the banks of the Sea of Galilee. And it has all of the people in this region and surrounding regions coming to hear what he has to say. And so let's jump back to our scriptures. And so all these people are coming in, large, huge crowds are coming. Jesus is not. And as we, in chapter 1, one of the things that we establish is when Jesus first begins his healing ministry, he first begins, he goes to that first Sabbath, that first Saturday, and he teaches in the synagogue. He drives out the demon. He leaves from there, and that night after the Sabbath is over, people start coming to him and start, around the house where he's at, and he heals people, and he drives out demons. He heals people that afternoon, that night. It says he goes to bed, and the next morning he's disappeared, and the disciples don't know where he's at. And Peter and the others sent out a search party to find him, and when they find him, he goes, hey, this isn't what I've come for. I haven't come to start a healing ministry. I've come to preach to all the regions. And so I'm not here, my purpose is not to draw huge crowds and do this. And so what we see is Jesus in his ministry has intentionally been doing things not necessarily to discourage large crowds, but he's not doing things intentionally to draw large crowds. But because of what he's doing, the nature of what he's doing, it is drawing these large crowds, and people are coming to him, even though that's not what Jesus is actually trying to do. He's not trying to draw these crowds. They can't get enough of him. They come to him. They are attracted to him. They hear about the healing. They hear about the life change, and they come like moths to a flame to Jesus, to come out in the middle of nowhere to see what this guy's about. So in verse 10, it says, for he had healed many, so that those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. Whenever the impure spirits saw him, they fell down before him, cried out, "You are the Son of God." But he gave strict orders not to tell others about him. So he, it's interesting, this Markan secret that for some reason Mark, as he is telling the story of Jesus, and he is bringing these hints up that the demons know who Jesus is. The demons know exactly the nature of Jesus, what Jesus has come to do, what Jesus is capable of doing, and they fall down before Jesus and they cry out that you are the Son of God. But because of the nature of how Mark is telling this story, he is giving this information to his hearers of saying, hey, y'all, did you hear this? The demons know who Jesus is. But he's still wanting to create this air of mystery that the disciples still are learning who Jesus is. The disciples are figuring this out as they are going, but the demons who see the spiritual side of things know exactly who Jesus is. But Jesus also is going, hey, I am commanding you not to tell others. And the interesting thing is that Jesus will tell a person, hey, he'll heal a person and say, hey, don't tell people. And whenever he heals a person and tells them, don't tell people, the person goes and tells people. But Jesus has such an authority and is willing to practice this authority over demons that he tells them, don't say nothing about who I am, and they don't say anything about who he is. Jesus obviously has that authority over humans as well. However, I believe Jesus respects the free will of these people, that even though he has told them, don't go tell anybody, that they'd still go tell anybody. And Jesus is not, whereas the demons, he commands them to do things and they have to do that. He binds them in that way. And so just kind of an interesting point there of the differences between Jesus telling a person, hey, don't tell anybody about me, and they run off and they tell everybody, versus Jesus telling a demon, don't tell anybody about me, and they are silent. So we have this scene, all right, and Mark here, the purpose of this is to show us the reach of Jesus's ministry at this point. How far Jesus's ministry is reaching out and is touching people, and people are coming to him to be healed and to be touched, and even demons are crying out of who he is. And so that is the then. And what is the now? I want you to notice something about this. The people in this instance are not necessarily here for the teaching. In other places, we have seen where Jesus is teaching and people are like, wow, listen to this teaching. Listen to this guy who teaches with authority. Well, in this, what we're seeing here is they are here for the healing. They are here for what they can get out of it. The crowds, the multitudes are coming for what they can get out of Jesus. And Jesus tells his disciples in verse 9 here, he says, hey, have a boat ready. He says, because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding. And also, as we're going to see in other places, to be ready for whenever he is ready to go, that he's going to go off to the other side of the lake and he's going to escape these crowds, because they are here for the healing. And Jesus is perfectly fine with the ministry of healing. He is perfectly fine with healing these people, but that is not what he is here for. He is here for to save the souls of these people. He will heal them to show his authority. He will heal them to show that he is exactly who he says he is, but that is not his primary purpose. His primary purpose is to be the savior of the world. It is their souls, not their physical bodies. However, he is still very much so interested in that. So as we take that into a now implication, what we have to remember is that Jesus is very much so concerned with the souls, or Jesus is very much so concerned with the physical condition, the physical needs of people. However, he's much more concerned with their souls. And so as we are forming ministries, yes, we want to meet needs. Yes, we want to help people. Yes, we want to draw people towards Christianity. We want to draw people towards our Christian community, church. And whenever I say church, I'm speaking of our Christian community, not our church building. We want to draw people to church, the church, as far as the Christian community in which we are. And we want people to look and see how we interact as a church and go, yes, I want that. I want that type of community. I want that type of relationship. There's something different with these people. We want people to see our families and go, there's something different in that family, something that I want for my family. And we want that to be things that draw people in. But ultimately, our goal is not just to draw people into Christian community. Our goal is not just to draw people to church. Our goal is not just to have people look at our families and go, wow, y'all really have it together. Our goal is to draw people to Jesus, draw people to the life-changing power of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So if all we're doing is drawing people to church, or drawing people into our community, or having people look at our family and go, yes, that's the best way to do family, that's not the total goal. And so yes, if that happens, then great. But the end goal is to draw them to the gospel. It is to point them past the community, past how our families function, to the reason why our community works in the way that it works, the reason why our families work in the way that they work. And that is because of the gospel that is alive within us. So yes, the healing drawed people. The driving out demons drawed people, but that was not Jesus's purpose. He was ready to withdraw from them because his point was, I want you to see the gospel. I love healing. I believe Jesus loved healing. We have times when he had passion, where he had compassion on the multitudes and healed for that reason. But Jesus is doing this to draw people to the gospel, to draw people to the purpose of why he is actually here in the first place. So I want to, I'm crawling too far. All right, Jesus points to 12. Got crazy with the cheese whiz. Where? I told you I'm not. All right, Jesus heals on the Sabbath. I know how to use a mouse. I promise you. All right, there we go. I'm not editing that, so that's staying in here. Typically, that would go on the back for a highlight reel, for a bloopers reel. You're having the bloopers reel right here in the middle, so enjoy that blooper reel. All right, verse 13. Jesus went up on a mountainside and called to him those he wanted, and they came to him. He appointed the 12 that they might be with him, and he might send them out to preach, and to have authority to drive out demons. These are the 12 that he appointed: Simon, to the one he gave the name of Peter; James, the son of Zebedee, the brother of John. To them he gave the name Boanerges. It means the sons of thunder. So however you say it, it means the son of thunder. All right. Let's see. Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. All right. So interesting stuff here. All right. I'm kind of touching two different topics, changing topics. We're talking about the crowds. Now we're talking about Jesus going from the crowds, those who are coming to for the healings, for the what they can get out of Jesus, and now he is pulling 12 out of these multitudes to be his inner circle, to be his disciples, what will end up being the apostles, with the exception of Judas Iscariot, who of course betrayed him. And so what's interesting here, so did Jesus need apostles? No, he's Jesus. He is God in the flesh. He can, anything that God wants to accomplish, he can accomplish on his own. He does not need the help of mere mortals to accomplish anything that he wants to accomplish. So Jesus is choosing, God in just the way that God is choosing to use humans in his work. He doesn't need these guys. But he is choosing to call them out. He is choosing that to be able to send them out to preach. He is choosing to give them authority to be able to drive out demons. He is giving humans the authority over spiritual beings. This is a huge deal, and so again. This is how God is from the beginning. I mean, even from Genesis chapter 1, Genesis chapter 2, really, 1 and 2, God goes and decides that he is going to delegate authority. He creates everything. Everything is good. And God, instead of going, hey, I'm going to rule all of the earth, God says, I want to delegate authority. I want to give man the ability to rule over earth. He's going to rule over the fish of the sea. He's going to rule over the beasts of the field. He is going to work this earth. He's going to till this earth. So even from the beginning, even from Genesis 1, Genesis 2, we see God in his nature desiring to even though he doesn't have to delegate out responsibility and give authority to humans. And so now he is continuing that in his kingdom work. I want to give authority to these 12 men to be able to continue my kingdom work. And so that was the then. What is the now? The now is God could accomplish anything that he wants in our world. God does not need us as people, as his followers. God, he's all powerful. But God chooses in his wisdom to give people the authority to do kingdom work. He gives us the right and the privilege to do stuff that has eternal impact. And you know, it's crazy to me. It's wild to me that the almighty, all-powerful God of the universe, who spoke everything into existence, who with anything that he wants done, he could literally think it and it would happen, chooses me to accomplish his goals. And so this is one of those things that we as Christians, we really need to start wrapping our head around this, that it's not I have to do these things. It's not I have to go to church. I have to tell people about Jesus. I have to spread the gospel. I get to. God has chosen me for this. That is crazy. That is wild. And we really need to change that mindset of, oh, it's my duty before the Lord. Oh, this burden is so heavy, I can barely stand it. To God, for whatever reason, would want me to partner with him to fulfill his purposes. Man, let us never take that for granted. Wow. Look at the guys that he picks. He picks Simon, Peter. You know, we know Simon Peter. Outspoken. You know, you got to love Peter. You got James and John, sons of thunder, also pretty outspoken. These are kind of his inner circle with Andrew. Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, tax collector, Thomas, the doubter. We always call. You are going to find out. Thomas is like my favorite disciple because Thomas is a lot like me. You know, I've got questions, right? Like, you know, you say, "Hey, we're going to go," and I'm going to be like, "Where are we going to go? How long are we going to be there?" I'm driving separate. You know what I mean? Thomas just had questions, right? I don't know how much of a doubter he was. He just had some questions. James, the son of Alphaeus, the other James, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot. This is interesting too. We don't know much about Simon the Zealot, but we know he was a zealot. And so a zealot was a guy who basically wanted to, through military force, throw off the Roman government. Like that was his thing. Like we're gonna raise a coup to throw off the power of Rome. You know, that's what zealots did. And so you have Matthew, who was a tax collector, who was like a Roman loyalist, a sellout, in the same group as Simon the Zealot, who was a zealot. It's wild, all right? And then Judas Iscariot, the guy who betrayed Jesus. Don't you think that Jesus knew whenever he said, hey, I'm going to pick this guy? I'm that guy right there, Judas Iscariot. He picked him knowing. He knew. He knew that Judas was going to betray him. And he picked him anyway because Judas had a purpose. You know, Judas's nature was that he was going to betray Jesus, and Jesus knew that ultimately his responsibility here on earth was to go through the cross, and Judas was going to play a role in getting him there. And it's just wild. It's wild to me that in this moment, as Jesus is picking out his disciples, and he gets to Judas, and he goes, "This is the guy that's going to sell me out. I'm going to wash his feet, and he's going to sell me out. But I have to go to the cross. I have to redeem mankind." Judas Iscariot, come on up here, guy. Wild. Absolutely wild. So, we have the 12 disciples. 11 of them will be apostles. Jesus is giving them authority to continue his work after he's gone, and sets the stage of these are the guys that are going to be the closest to Jesus. These are the guys we're going to be watching from here on out, to watch them in their journey of figuring out who Jesus is. And it's such an awesome journey that, man, I'm so excited. And I'm so excited that y'all are, because my mouse is on the wrong side, not editing it out. That's going to stay in. All right. Let's see here. All right. So glad that y'all are, we are on this journey to watch the disciples figure this thing out. I'm so glad y'all are coming along this journey, and we're going to see the disciples go through ups, downs, sideways. Things are going to get really great, and they're going to start getting really bad. But man, this is such an awesome book of the Bible. It's so interesting the way that Mark sets this up, and thank y'all for joining me on the journey this far. Things are really starting to kind of get picked up, heated up, and we're really about to start really kind of diving into this and really unpacking a lot of stuff. So I'm excited about it. All right. Again, do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with others. Listen, guys, I love y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.